Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cut and Splice. This is Jason, and as usual, I'm here with Gil and Matt. And tonight we're going to be talking about the movie This Is Where I Leave You, which was from 2014. Um, it's kind of interesting that we're talking about this movie. We picked it for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a movie about half Jewish family sitting Shiva after a funeral and a death in the family. And because Gil just kind of went through a lot of that himself. And also, coincidentally, the director, Sean Levy, or Levy, has one of the biggest movies in the world out right now. So it's kind of cool that kind of timed out interestingly.
I guess not when this releases, but
Well, for all we know, I mean, the thing's still in theaters now, so who knows? Maybe it
yeah.
still will be.
But which movie is it?
The Deadpool 3, Deadpool and
Oh,
Wolverine.
I didn't know he was doing those. I thought it was like the special effects guy that was doing them, but I guess maybe not.
No, it started out. I think the first two were Tim Miller, I think, and
Yeah.
then I believe this one they went to a different director because, well, I don't know why. I was going to speculate and say that maybe Tim Miller was busy or something, but I really have no clue why they went with a different person. But
Oh, okay, cool.
I didn't know it was him either. I just literally was looking up his stuff a few minutes back, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I guess because they wanted to, like, I think, play up the whole comedic thing, so they just went for like a comedy director.
Tim Miller's pretty darn funny, also, but no,
Yeah,
but I think
wasn't he
that
a special effects guy before
he might have been. I've never looked, but he's worked with Ryan Reynolds on like three or four things before, so that probably is one of the reasons why he got the job. I'm guessing,
Yeah, he was like a producer on
relations.
on that show that you recommended, the Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh yeah, I knew about that. You're talking about Tim Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah, after the success of Deadpool, he I think the way I read it anyway, side trivia type stuff being what it is, I think that he kind of got his blank check and some studio was like, what do you want to do? And that's when the way I read it anyway, he wanted to make a new heavy metal, which for anyone who doesn't know was like a, I think probably late 80s American animated anthology film that was really cool and kind of weird, very weird. Um, but they made a couple attempts to redo that over the years, and he wanted to redo it, and it ended up turning into that Netflix show, Love, Death, and Robots, which I think is awesome.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen a few of the episodes there.
So was this the first time that either of you guys had seen this movie?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought that was the case. I thought that might have been one of the reasons we watched it. I couldn't remember.
Did you see it in theaters?
Oh yeah, no, I was pretty excited to see it in theaters.
The cast.
Yeah, I really, unless it just looks like a really bad movie or something like that, or whatever. I really like Jason Bateman a lot, and I think that Tina Fey's kind of underused a bit also, but and I know that when this had come out, I'm pretty sure that Adam Driver had already been announced as that he was going to be in Star Wars, so I was like pretty excited to see him in something. I think maybe I had seen an episode of Girls or something like that before this, but really barely knew who he was. So there was a number of reasons why. Oh, and also Timothy Olyphant. I'm just like, I'll watch pretty much anything he's in. So I was just kind of like, I remember seeing the trailer also and just hearing some reviews. So I was like, I'll go check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely a very fun cast as far as like the like Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
As the crazy mom. And also was the one who's the one who stayed behind.
Corey Stoll.
Rose
Oh yeah, Rose
Iron
Byrne.
Burn. Yeah, because
Osborne,
I
yeah.
just recently saw the movie Jon Stewart made, the one about the political one, and she played like a Republican operative there,
Oh,
but she was pretty good there too. It was
which
like
movie's that?
her against Steve Carell. Steve Carell was the Democratic operative. It's
Oh,
it's called Irresistible, I think, or something. It's like a comedy that he made. It's basically like about Chris Cooper plays this guy who's like a former colonel or something, and he and he has like a viral video thing that that Steve Carell sees, and he's kind of like in this like very red rural city, but he spouts very democratic values in his speech, like in this like town hall, and then Steve Carell goes down there and tries to convince him to like run for mayor, and the whole thing is like they make it into a national story about this like tiny city with like both the Republican and the Democratic Party like fighting over this like mayoral race in this insignificant little town. But it's pretty good. I mean, it's got has some twists and turns, and I think it was a much better, I think, outing from Jon Stewart than the first movie he did, which was trying to be a bit more serious. The one that was about the Iranian captive something something. It was I think definitely comedy is more of his forte.
I do remember when there were ads for that first movie that you just mentioned.
Rosewater or
And
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember the name. I just remember we were all standing in line for a movie at one point, and there was a big standee or something like that in the theater, and I think somebody pointed it out that was like his first movie that he directed or something, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I never saw it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like people like Jon Stewart and like Jerry Seinfeld, whenever they like take on like doing a movie, it's more of like I think a challenge or an adventure for them. It's not anything they would want to do like full time. But it's interesting to see how people's personalities translate to
Yeah.
yeah. And that same token, I would say about this movie too is like I don't think anybody in this movie is particularly Jewish. So
Oh, that was a big joke that they talked about. I cannot remember who said it, but I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't really like pick up on it at the time. But I years later I saw someone talk about this movie, and they said it's the movie about this very Jewish experience. The whole cast is not Jewish, and somebody was like, "Well, at least we got the director."
yeah. Yeah, it is funny, and it's not that unbelievable because obviously there's a lot of like mixed religion type of homes that like maybe the mom might have not been Jewish but the dad was. I can totally see that, and if the dad was uber secular, then maybe they just didn't grow up Jewish almost at all to a degree, so they
Yeah.
can maybe not seem that way. But
Well, they do
but yeah,
mention that he was supposed to be an atheist.
yeah, that he was a non-believer. Yeah, and we'll get into the details later on with spoilers, like about how it all evolves. But yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like, so how did you like it, Jason? Before me and Matt like give.
When I first saw it, I really liked it. Oh crap, I forgot I was going to look this up ahead of time. I'll look it up while you guys are talking. But yeah, I really liked it when it first came out. I remember not loving the ending, and of course, I'll go into what it was that bothered me about it. But it wasn't like it. I felt like it ruined the movie or anything. I definitely remembered like that this was one of the movies I liked that year, like quite a bit. I was going to check and see if I had put it in some sort of list or something, but anyway, I do remember liking it a lot, and I was trying to tell some people about it. Um, I I also remember somebody, some critic on the internet, said that this was like this generation's The Big Chill, which I found to be an interesting comparison. A very different movie, obviously, but obvious comparison reasons for comparison. Sorry, but yeah, I liked it when I saw it, and I think this time through, I'd say I liked it a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know. I'd probably say that it's like an 8 or something.
I think I'm a lot less high on this movie than Jason was. I mean, it was definitely I mean, it was competently made, and it's yeah. I mean, when you have so much confinement in terms of your location, even though it's a big house, and it is so dialogue driven. It is kind of it's always kind of interesting to see how a director is going to try to make the movie visually interesting, and I think a serviceable job was done. The performances were all great. I don't know. I mean, it kind of fell. It is really difficult to create kind of that dramedy tone, especially with so many moving parts in the cast. And I mean, I think they kind of almost got there, but didn't quite. So I guess I would probably be around 5.
I think that's appropriate actually, because I was not far from 5, but I bumped it up to like a 6. IMDb was like prompted me, do you want to rate? This is what. So I was like, I was forced to make a decision. But yeah, so I give it like an extra point. I would be at a 5 as well, just because of the unevenness and the all over the placeness of the movie, and yes, the tone, like, and some of the subplots and just character traits that just go a bit too extreme. Like everything was extreme, that I felt like unnecessarily so, almost like maybe it was for comedic effect, but then it sort of didn't always land as far as like a joke. But I like the fact that they showcased in an American movie the whole Shiva thing, even if they did it very, very imperfectly. And I could always get into that comparison, like things that were like different from my experience. But and some things that apparently Diana says that like are the rules here that were not the rules in Israel. So everybody has their own like rituals, of course, about these things. But just the fact that like it was showcased, because ultimately the whole point of the whole Shiva thing is a very therapeutic thing, even though it's essentially work. It's unpleasant. You're forced to be in one place for 7 days and sort of like a marathon of your job for 7 days is to be visited by other people and pour your heart out or just shoot the shit for like a few hours until they get tired of it and then leave, and then other people come. But it's immensely, I think, wise, however it came about, like in Judaism, and I'm glad that it's showcased. And one of the criticisms that I have is that I don't think they succeeded in explaining why it's so good, but there is, like any movie, there's a resolution, and it does kind of unites the family to one degree or another. I don't think it's a spoiler. It's almost obvious that there would be some semblance of that by the end. That at least it makes that point. So for that alone, I give it like an extra point. But one last thing I would say too is that it's been funny because me and Diana have been watching a lot of these so movies lately that are very geared towards our demographic for one reason or another. I think I was telling you guys like we watched like This Is 40 recently, and and also the Jason Reitman movie, the Tali, that was about like a new mother dealing with struggling with like a new baby, like her third kid, and so it was funny, like, oh, have we become those adults that just pick movies based on like, oh, we're in our 40s, let's watch a movie about people in their 40s, or like we have a third child, let's watch a movie about like a mom struggling with her third child. So but then, and this is too, like we both just went through Shiva, me and her, and this one we didn't pick, Jason picked for us, but I felt like it was a good trilogy, and I think now I'm done, I'm gonna lay off that for a bit. But yeah, this is where I stand. But overall, as far as like recommending it, yeah, I would say for one thing, if if you're Jewish, you might get some giggles out of it, not to the same degree that you would be from, like, say, A Serious Man or other more Jewish movies. But yeah, I don't know if this for like a general audience, and it seems like, yeah, that was rated 6.6 by the audience, and the critics liked it even less. Um, it's a tough sell because, yeah, it's not a laugh out loud movie. It's just like if you're into these ensemble movies and you're into this cast, I think that's the main draw. I would say, like, oh, I want to spend 2 hours with close to 2 hours with these people. Like, that would be the main draw. I would say, like, if you like these actors, maybe check it out. You know, and all of them are very likable. I mean, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like a TV movie. Also, it felt to a degree.
Mhm.
Well, I think the director did do quite a bit of TV before becoming a very successful movie director.
Yeah. But yeah, that's as far as recommending. Any other thoughts about that?
Nothing that can't wait till afterward. Oh, I was actually sorry. I was going to say, while you guys were checking, since you asked what I thought about it, I thought to look and see back in my list of movies that I watched from 2014 to see if I'd put it in my top 11, which I did not. Apparently, now that I'm looking at it, 2014 was a pretty good year for movies. But yeah, I put it as an honorable mention. It was in contention, but it definitely didn't make the cut. There was too many other good movies like Gone Girl and Guardians of the Galaxy and Big Hero 6 and Interstellar, stuff like that.
I still want to see Big Hero 6 with
it's
the
a good
kids.
one. I think they'd like it. Yeah, it's a good one.
They just saw Ice Age for the first time.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one.
That's not a bad movie, but it's a movie that I cannot understand how it spawned like 4 or 5 sequels. It's like, I don't think it was nearly good enough for that.
Yeah, but I guess it was. I don't think I saw more than the first one, but I might have seen the second one. I don't know why. I didn't have kids back then, but yeah. I don't know why I saw the first one.
I saw the first one because it came out when I was able to see movies for free, and I was not impressed enough to want to see any of the sequels. But I mean, it's not like I hated the movie or anything. I was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because
I just remember the scene with the dodo birds in the first one, and like obviously it's a kids movie, but just having that moment where a couple of dodos go off the side of the cliff and like, oh, there goes our last female.
Yeah, one extinct. The yeah, I don't know. It's funny because now looking back at it, it was like, why did I watch animated movies back before I had kids? But I guess because of the whole. I think it's because also there's like a bit of a draw to the whole computer animated thing. It was very, especially Pixar movies were very like much event movies. So every once in a while.
This is totally off topic, but I don't understand why people don't watch animated movies. It's like, they're just other types of movies. I mean, I think the stigma should go away is what I'm saying. But anyway.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, that's what Guillermo del Toro said at the Oscars, I think it was, when he won for Pinocchio, is that, like animated movies are not for kids. They're just movies, Yeah, I mean, depends, of course. A lot of them are geared towards kids, but yes, there's ones that are not. And
I just watched one last night.
Cool. So yeah, I guess we can go into spoilers. Yeah, I guess either of you like have any idea about like the concept of like what the Shiva is or anything before this movie, or you heard about it?
I had heard the term before, but I definitely didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know I would say that the very brief explanation that they give in this movie was more or less informative for me.
Yeah. You too, Matt?
Yeah. Well, my best friend from high school is named Shiva, No,
But he's
I'm
not. But
not.
he's not Jewish.
She.
Oh, she.
No, she's
Yeah,
she's
okay.
Iranian.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
yeah, but yeah, I need to be better educated on it.
No, not that it's that
Yeah,
important to know.
yeah.
Although I'm actually curious, like, what are the like, for example, like as far as Christian rituals, is there anything specific Christians do, or is it mainly? From what I can see in TV shows and movies, it's mainly there's a funeral, and then after the funeral, there's like they go to the home and they do the kind of like the meal portion of it, sort of.
Not
And
everybody has a meal
Yeah.
provided, but there definitely is a lot less tradition, I think might be the right word.
It
When it
also
comes
depends
to
on denomination and everything.
right. Well, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, the Irish have wakes. And that's a big thing for sure.
yeah.
so the wake happens after the funeral.
Before.
Oh, before.
The wake is, if I understand correctly, usually done the night before.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so
like Christians, I think most of the time, in my experience with most of my relatives and friends who've had people died and whatever, usually there's a viewing the night before, which probably has several different terms, where it'll be like at a church or something, and people go, and if it's an open casket, they'll view the body or whatever. But it's like a quick thing. It's not like a really long ordeal or anything. And then like the next day, there might be like the actual, you know, service or whatever, if there is one, or the burial, and then there might be a gathering afterward. It's really just, I think a lot of times depends on the family, what they wanted, or what the deceased wanted.
I see. Yeah, but it seems like overall it tends to be like a day's worth of like focus, maybe a day or two, but then everybody sort of disperses.
Yeah.
So because that's the main thing. I think that's the difference with the whole Shiva thing, is that the idea is that like essentially Jews say that it's a bad idea to leave mourners alone after like a day after the burial, essentially, because that's when they're like at their most sensitive. So they're basically, Judaism said like you're not allowed to be alone. So your job for the next 7 days, because Shiva is like comes from the root of seven, but also Shiva is sitting. It sounds like the word sitting, but it also sounds like the word seven. So I don't know if, honestly, I've never like checked. I think it's more of the seven aspect, but there's also a thing about that you have to sit all day, like you're at home. You're not allowed to leave the property, literally, like it's a house arrest type of thing. And they broke the rules here a few times. Of course, they don't care in the movie, but yeah, it's like they
do mention that they're breaking the rules.
Yeah, I broke the rules too when I went to like take money out of the ATM or something stupid. But for my mom's account of all things, because they were trying to draw as much money as possible before the credit card company locks the account, because as soon as they get word that she passed, then I don't know, they lock it and then they release it 30 days later, something stupid. But whatever it was, I was like, I don't care, I'll go. But yeah, so that's the concept, and I think it's very smart. Like for some people, like I don't know if necessarily I would have needed it. I think it only helped me, but yeah, because you talk your mouth off for like 7 days to various people that come and visit. The idea is kind of brilliant, because at the end of the 7 days, you are dying for some peace and quiet, as opposed to like if it's only a day of a funeral and then everybody disappears, you're like, well, wait, where did everybody go? And you feel so alone. But if you have 7 days of nonstop visitations, except for the weekend, the Shabbat, when there's a break for mourners too, you go to synagogues in Shabbat. That's like they show that in the movie. But the idea is like, fuck, I want some peace and quiet. Like you seek the quiet, whereas for most people that mourn, to get the quiet a day after the funeral is a bit too shocking, because the void is much more felt to a degree. But But yeah, it's an interesting concept. And the one thing I will say, as far as like the things that they did, is the whole thing, and maybe it's here in the U.S., but like the whole having a row of chairs and you sit there and you can't sit anywhere else in the house is stupid. Like I don't know why they do that here, because obviously different friends or different like family members come to visit with specific family members. So
Yes.
And it's just the house is much bigger than those row of seats. Like at our place, like some people sat on the porch, some people sat in the living room, some people sat on the dining table, some people were in the kitchen. It just depends, but you have to spread out into your groups, because if like my sister friends come to visit her, I'm not gonna sit with them. You know,
it definitely sounds more practical the way you're describing it.
more practical, yeah. So that's one thing that I would say was more. Even though some things are less relaxed in Israel, that part felt a little stupid. But I understand why they did it for the movie, because it plays into the comedy and the ridiculousness of it.
It gives you that good shot too of all of them sitting in the row. You know, the majority of the cast. You know.
Yeah, and it's that more. I think it's that more
And
like
also,
frustrating for them. Yeah.
there is a moment at the beginning of the movie when they're shown that row of chairs, and one of the family members is like, "Oh, yeah, they used to put our Christmas tree."
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like he put the chairs where they used to put their Christmas tree.
yeah.
Oh
So-
yeah.
Underlining the fact that this is like really new to them. And
They
foreign.
haven't grown up very Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so. I was gonna say one thing, and you can tell me what you think. But yeah, I felt like, as far as like it felt like some of the Jason Bateman's, like, he's the lead character to a degree, so it's sort of his journey. So I understand why he's got some drama in his with his wife and stuff. But there's just so much. Like, everybody has a problem. And everybody's got such an extreme problem, and they're all so different from each other. Like, they almost don't even look like siblings, for one thing. And then on top of that, you add this mom who's like a sex, like free advocate or something, like
Yeah,
sex
psychologist.
liberated. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a psychologist. That's like that's her shtick, is like, liberating like sex from the bedroom to be talked like in the open or stuff like that. It's, even though Jane Fonda, I like her, and it made it interesting, I still feel like it's just a bit too much. It could have been a simpler family. A simpler family would have like done just fine. Also, the rabbi character, like, for him to be connected with them, and he was like this geek. It was just, it could have been other ways for the rabbi to be funny. He didn't have to be like, somebody they bullied when he was a kid. But I don't know. But it's fine. It's their movies, their choices, and some of it landed, some of it didn't. But I felt like it was just a bit extreme all over the place, constantly. But not in a good way. Sometimes when it hits the right tone, it sort of works. But here, I felt like they're just really like, what's the most out there thing that we can do? Out of left field. So I don't know how it landed with either of you.
Yeah, I think you're right that, I mean, Jason Bateman is fundamentally the main character, and that's always something that you're juggling when you have this kind of an ensemble cast. I mean, it's based off of a novel, right? So, you've got probably like 300 pages or something in that novel to flesh out all these characters and make it more of it's not just about this one guy, it's about all of these people. But I think there's a much more interesting story just dealing with Jason Bateman and his journey. I mean, that's a whole movie if you really dive into it and flesh it out. So, I feel like there's a lot of characters that probably should have been put more to the wayside.
I definitely feel the opposite way, but I'll explain what I mean.
Okay.
I mean, I think obviously the point of the movie was to have this family, with the mom and the 4 kids. And then there's scenes where they're very clearly speaking to the audience. They're just laying out for you what you're seeing. I mean, he's saying like when he's by the way, the scene I'm talking about is between Jason Bateman and Tina Fey. Just throwing this out there, I think the best scenes in the movie are the scenes with just the two of them. I think they have the strongest stuff in the whole film. But there's a scene towards the end when everybody's dirt has been aired, and everybody's dirty laundry, has been aired, and you get what everybody's struggling with, and it's pretty clear that all four members of the family, or all four of the kids, I should say, all have issues with their spouses or significant others. Their lives are not going the way they want them to be, and some of those problems are interconnected, some of them are not. And he says to his sister, like, really the only one here in the whole family who's having a great time is your son. I think it's Cole or something, but the one who's pooping and who's learning how to be potty trained, and whatever. I mean, obviously the point of the movie was for it to be an ensemble where everybody has their issues. I do agree that there's a little bit much going on, and that was kind of, I can go into it more later, but that was kind of my thing at the end, was like, I was really on board for all the family's problems. And I think, and I'm just throwing this out there, I think it's possible to have made this movie and for the mother for her issue to have simply been that her husband just died, and that she lies to the kids, spoiler alert, and tells them that he wanted them all to be together just because she wanted to be closer to her kids and was a little too ashamed to say that out loud because of the kind of relationship she has with them, and tricks them all into doing this. To me, that's enough. The other four have these crazy things going on in their lives. To tack on one more entire like thing at the end was like, I was like, woof, geez, like we're really going for it here. But I was just gonna say, my issue with it, because I kind of get what you're saying, Gil, about like there's just so much layered and layered and layered. I actually really like all the stories that all four of the kids are going through. Like, I see kids, they're all adults. The four of the Altman children, siblings. Uh, the I like all the story that's going on with each one of them. I like they're all significantly different in what they're going through. They're all pretty significant to their lives and things like that. When I say they, I mean the problems they have are all significant. I just feel that were this movie made perfectly, and I'm not exactly sure what to do to make that happen, but a big part of it would have to do with its transitions, I think, from scene to scene. But there's all these moments, for example, between the characters. Like, you got a lot of stuff with Jason Bateman and Tina Fey that's great. You get some good scenes with each one of the four children and Jane Fonda. That's pretty good. You get these great moments with Jason Bateman and Adam Driver, and then they add Corey Stoll in, and so you kind of see how you can, without even having it spelled out, you can see how their dynamic would have been when they were kids, kind of, and stuff like that. You get a really great scene with Tina Fey and Adam Driver. All these things are great, right? But the problem with the movie, in my opinion, is that you get these great scenes, but a lot of it just feels like you just got done with one part of a story, and they just kind of like jam you into the next scene with two other characters, and there's no transition between them. Like, one of my favorite scenes is between Tina Fey and Adam Driver, when he's trying, like, she's going through a lot, and the father of her children has like left the Shiva thing and gone off to some business thing. She's dealing with the kids by herself. She's struggling in the backyard with some sort of stupid like playpen or something. I don't know. And Adam Driver comes up and has this really cool conversation with her about how in actuality, she really raised him. Like, his older sister really raised him more than their mother really did. And it's a great scene, but like, it comes out of nowhere. Like, I don't know exactly what we saw right before that, but I'm assuming it's probably something involving Jason Bateman, involving the family, involving the mother, all this stuff. And then like, you just get slammed into this scene with like very little context and very little anything. That's how I feel about the whole movie. Is like there's something about the telling of this story that's the problem for me. I think the story itself is great. I think what the characters are doing is great. It doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel
Organic.
yeah, maybe I don't know. I mean, I could probably try to dissect it for an hour and a half and not really come up with what the problem is, but that's how I feel about it. There's just these moments where I'm like, well, that was nice in and of itself, but yeah, it's just like in there, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean like and then Tina Fey's character like has a thing with Oliphant's like character because she was in the car with him during the accident. They had like a
They were
relationship, boyfriend girlfriend, and then of course she moved on with her life and he stayed there. There's a little bit of the staying behind. For one thing, the staying behind thing could have kept that to one character. There's the one character that Jason Bateman, has the thing with, like to have the two of those. Like I just felt like, so he's got a brain injury and his mom is like has a lesbian relationship with their mom. It feels so convoluted. Like it just feels, and I don't know. It's a movie, so obviously whatever they want to think of, That's perfectly fine. But it's like, and then the Dax Shepard character that has like the affair with Jason Bateman's wife, and then the baby. It just feels like, I don't know if this might work better in a novel where it started, because it's just so convoluted and it's very like, I don't know, almost like trashy novel type of stuff. Like it's just like throw in all these intrigues, like it's a soap opera type of plot lines. He did what with who, and these, and then like even the psychologist that is dating like the therapist
Connie
that dates
Britton.
that dates like Adam Driver. And like she's got issues because she's older than him. Why is she with him? Like and I think maybe that's what it is like, because as you were talking, I was like, it was making sense to me, is that the whole thing of the movie is like everybody's got problems. Everybody's imperfect. Everybody needs to be more understanding and accepting of each other's imperfections and all these things, like the way Jason Bateman needs to come to terms with his relationship with his wife. And I don't know, there's some of the significance there when he ends up like driving straight to Maine or whatever, like the whole like,
Well, that's his whole character change at the end.
Yeah, the character change of like, just going on a whim instead of like feeling like your life is so structured. Yeah, do something spontaneous.
Air quotes, he doesn't do complicated.
Yeah, but the question is, exactly, was there a better way? Because if that was the thing of the movie, then there should have been something in there, in the plot or in the dialogue, that would build that concept up, so it's a motif, it's a theme. And there are some things in here, like we said, like whether it's the driving the Maine or like things that they put early in the script that come back later, which is good, but I feel like it could have been stronger. Like I felt like there should have been something there about, this whole theme, and then it would have been consistent. And it is consistent that everybody has problems. It's just that their problems are just so, I mean, like the Corey Stoll, like, and his wife, like having issues, like getting pregnant. It's just too much. It is a bit like soap opera, where like it's something freaky needs to happen every 10 minutes. Otherwise, like the housewives at home get bored, like, I don't know.
I love the story with Corey Stoll and his wife, Catherine Hahn, like, because I love the aspect of it that like the younger brother, Jason Bateman, dated her when they were in high school, and then they just, probably a year or two or something, and then called it quits. And then years later, she is with the older brother, and then they fall in love and decide to get married, kind of thing. And then that's when the story takes place, obviously, is when now years later, and they can't have a kid yet, or they haven't had any kids yet, and they're trying, and all that stuff like that. I liked their story a lot, but I just feel the same way, you like what you just said. It's like any one particular one of these stories I like. It's just it's a lot, You know, like you mentioned the Dax Shepard and the wife, Quinn, Abigail Spencer, and all that stuff. It starts out the movie, and without it, Jason Bateman doesn't show up to the Shiva, with the problem. He's got to have a problem, obviously. That's like the whole problem he's having. Tina Fey is the only one that knows what's going on because they confide in each other, because they're like Irish siblings or Irish twins, I mean, in a sense. But yeah, like you need that story. But I'll be honest with you, like when you were talking about it right now, I remembered the first time I saw this movie, I remember liking what was going on between Tina Fey and Timothy Olyphant, between Adam Driver and his girlfriend that's like clearly like he's got those like Oedipus issues, the Corey Stoll thing. I liked all this family stuff that was going on. And then when the wife, Jason Bateman's wife, Quinn, shows up all of a sudden, and suddenly they take a departure, and he's got to see her in the hospital, and Dax Shepard shows up and all this stuff. It's not that I disliked that story, but I even remember when I first saw it thinking, oh my gosh, do we have to go out here and do this? I'm kind of enjoying the other stories. This is like a lot more that we're adding on here now.
But is those also one of the only escapes from the
and that's
home,
true.
so.
And you probably need it again. Like
yeah.
I could talk about this. One of the reasons I kind of wanted to do this after you mentioned that you were going through this Shiva thing, with your own life, because like I do like this movie. I like all these things, but it is interesting that I feel like the flaw in the movie is how it's told. Like I feel like something about all these little stories need to kind of just flow better with each other. And also maybe less, like, again, this seems really weird for me to say this, but in some sense, if the big reveal at the end could have just been Jane Fonda saying, I lied to all of you and you're here because I just lost my husband and I wanted my family together, and that was it, maybe that would have helped, because like by the end you're just like exhausted with so much story going on.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, it might have been just fatigue, but also I think it's just a bit of like lack of wisdom I felt like in this movie, as far as like the one thing that in all these movies that we've been watching lately, I try to find these like little tidbits of truth that I feel like are, was like, oh, that's very relatable. And the only thing that was relatable for me in this movie is the Corey Stoll one, when he says, like, I gotta go have sex, like she's ovulating. Because I went through that with our third kid. Like there was a whole ovulating thing, and like you have to have sex every night during the ovulation. God forbid, like you miss a beat. And it's very true that like even for a guy, like if sex is like scheduled and forced, it takes the fun out of it. So
Gil, I totally get what you're saying, but I just want you to know you can't see my face right now, but I have no sympathy for you face right now.
Oh, yeah, I know. But
please continue.
At the same time, I do know, and we do this as well, that as you age, and especially if you have kids, you do have to sort of schedule sex sometimes. Like it can't always be just spontaneous and nonverbal type of like seduction. But it was like one of those moments in the movies like that's so true, like that emotion right there. That's the only relatable thing that I could relate to. The rest of the movie was just a lot of fluff, maybe some of the but
what about the little kids and the potty training?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, maybe. Joanna said something funny, is like are the kids there like Tina Fey's, because she's almost never with them in the same shot.
Yeah, I know.
They're always somewhere else.
I feel
who's taking care of the kids?
I really feel like Tina Fey's character had the most scenes cut or something like that, because like what you just said, the fact that she's rarely in the same scenes with them, the fact that like gosh, there's a thing where that scene I mentioned earlier with Adam Driver and her, and and how that one just sort of comes out of nowhere. Only this time, watching it second time, did I piece the story together, where it's like the um at the husband guy, or I don't know if it's weird. I assumed it was her husband because she has kids with him, but in the on the IMDb thing and also in the credits, she's credited as Wendy Altman, meaning she either A, didn't take his name, or B, they're not married. But they don't really ever say, I don't think. But anyway, the guy that the father of her children, obviously, probably her husband, most likely. When he leaves, there is a good scene where they're out in the street arguing, and he takes off and whatever. And she's kind of talking about being upset because she's like, now I have to take care of the kids all by myself during this whole thing. And then some other story happens. And then the next scene where we see her, she's in that backyard struggling to put the kids' crap away. You know, that little struggle is all we see that indicates she's having difficulties because this guy left. I really feel like for that scene to play out right, we needed to have a scene in between where some other stuff's going on, and in the background, part of what's happening is that she's dealing with the fact that she's got two little kids there, you know, or something. I don't know. But like it's that kind of stuff, you know, like what you just said. It's like you rarely ever see her with the kids. You rarely see the kids unless the scene is about them. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I feel is missing.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's a version of this movie that's like 2.5, 3 hours, because it is an ensemble. And maybe they even riffed off each other in some scenes, but they knew they can't sustain this as a movie for like more than 2 hours. They have to keep it as short as possible, and then they just kind of like cut out a lot of like, and maybe they just left all the ridiculous stuff and cut out all the more normal stuff. But
on the Blu-ray, there's some like, I don't know if it's gag reel, but there's some deleted stuff or there's some behind the scenes stuff on the Blu-ray where it shows the rabbi, Ben Schwartz. They had apparently a lot of scenes where he was just you know, where they were just letting him try stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, no, that's another thing that was like, what the fuck moment, because like he was sort of like a bit of a, you know, this youngish rabbi at the funeral and whatnot, and all of a sudden, out of left field at the synagogue, he's like a fucking comedian. Like what happened? Like he's like riffing, and this it felt very like too much. Like it's okay if you want to be like a hip young rabbi. I think he's actually a bit too young, but or maybe he just looks young. But I just felt like that's just not. I don't think a rabbi would talk like that, even if he was trying to be a hip young. He was just a bit too out there, like way more than the funeral, which makes sense because the funeral is a more somber thing. But I was like, that's just too much. But maybe because of the nature of the actor or something, they let him riff. But
he is John Ralphio, so
yeah.
I don't know anything about what a rabbi would actually be like, having never been to a synagogue before or anything like that. But I know that the director was talking about, and I think this comes through, by the way, but the director was talking in the behind the scenes thing about that character, that the concept in probably the book and the movie is that that here's this family, and that character Boner, the rabbi, he grew up. He's the same age as their youngest, as Adam Driver. They grew up as good friends in the neighborhood, and so they grew up with him in their house as this friend character who was always, you know, like they said, he was always like into the older sister, and you know, stuff like that. He was always very inappropriate. They grew up seeing him as a child and a teenager and a very inappropriate person, and now, you know, a decade later or so, all of a sudden he's this rabbi, and none of them can take him seriously because they all just think of him as Boner, as this dumb kid who was over at their house all the time. They're supposed to respect him. They're supposed to treat him like a man of God, but none of them do, not even the mom, so.
But that's the thing. He doesn't even take himself seriously.
Well, and maybe that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, like he should be the straight man or the butt of the jokes, but like he shouldn't start cracking jokes at them. It just feels uneven. But
yeah,
I don't know. But I think one other thing I would say about just the out there-ness of all these characters and their situations is that, and maybe the fact that they didn't feel very related to each other, is just that more than anything, I just really feel like I'm watching a bunch of famous actors having fun on a movie, like sort of in the Knocked Up, Super Bad type of vibe, like where I don't buy that these are real people. Like I just think these are actors acting out scenes. But in Superbad and Knocked Up, it's funny. Where here, it's there's a giggle. There's like, it's amusing, but it's not laugh out loud funny. And there's also no wisdom to it. Like I feel like Knocked Up and Superbad and some of it had a lot more relatable or truths, like within scenes. It was like relatable things. Where this was just the situations were so out there that it was very tough to relate to any of them. So I don't know. I think that's part of what plays into the unbelievability and the convoluted nature of this movie, at least for me.
You don't connect to or feel there's a believability in the struggle that Tina Fey's character is going through, or Corey Stoll is more of the jokey half of the couple, but his wife, Annie, Catherine Hahn's character, that's kind of a pretty messed up situation to be in. Like she really, really wants a kid, can't have one. And she's sitting here stuck in this house. And halfway through the whole thing, she finds out that the other brother accidentally had a kid with with his wife, who he really didn't want to have a kid with because she cheated on him. And then on top of all that used to be her boyfriend.
Yeah, no, that part, generally I think the couple trying to have a kid is more relatable, especially nowadays, because I feel like even though we somewhat struggle with our third one, I hear a lot about couples struggling even when they're with their first or second. So the whole fertility thing is definitely the most relatable thing and most realistic thing in this movie.
I don't know. I don't think it's something that happens that often by comparison, obviously, to that. But because as you said, that is becoming more common. But I think Tina Fey's story with Timothy Olyphant is like, heart-wrenching.
Yeah, but I think maybe what it suffers from is that there's so many plot lines, and same thing with Catherine Hahn, is that there's not enough
of it
to build it up and connect with it. Yeah, it's just like, wait, what? Like they were in the accident together? Like it's always like a shock. Wait, what? So this was that and this was this? It just feels like very thrown in. Like the only developed stories are mostly Jason Bateman's, like with his wife, and then the girl that he was that was interested in him when they were younger, but he like didn't like, I guess, reciprocate. There's also a little bit there's something in this movie about like that everybody compromises with their partners to a degree. Like something like that, where like it seems like Jason Bateman's wife, if she cheated on him, maybe she compromised on him, and that's why she cheated, and that the psychologist is like with Adam Driver because she's old and she wants like someone young and exciting, and it seems like everybody's just like love is just fucked up, which is again, it's a problem because this movie is supposed to be about grief, not about. And then they have the little plot line about Jason Bateman not remembering any memory about his dad, and then he's got the zap that like reminds him of it, and I was like, that's too little too late. Like there's not enough of that to me to say like that there's any meat to this movie when it comes to exploring grief Like, and if
I
it's
think the scene with Jason Bateman and Adam Driver getting high at the synagogue, because the whole thing is about them talking about their father and reminiscing, and then the other brother shows up and continues to as well.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I think a very good, a sophisticated writer would have weaved it much better. Like where,
Exactly how I feel.
like
Yeah.
where all these like odd complications that all these people have are all manifestations of the relationship with their parents, and
Yep.
because everything's
Yep.
connected. Like
Yep.
they're like, why do they struggle with love? Because they had a very fucked up mom, like who had like a
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like, but if you don't make those connections, because what happens in a Shiva, like what happens when a parent passes, there's a lot of nostalgia. Like people pull out photos. You kind of rethink your whole life. Like it kind of brings everything into focus. Like it reminds you of your mortality, and it also, you start talking about all these things growing up, not necessarily with the person passing, that as well, but it's just generally incidences that, like my sister told me, my young sister told me that apparently she caught me having sex with my first girlfriend. I was like, I have no recollection of that, and that makes sense because that's probably something that I want to forget. I would want to forget. There's all these like things that you share with each other, and then you also, to a degree, you connected to the way your parents were. Like it's like some stuff I learned about my dad, that apparently he cheated on my mom, and that like he was a bit of a Don Juan when he was younger, and it's one of the reasons why my grandfather didn't want him to marry my mom. So all this stuff is like, what? Like to a degree I might have known some of this, maybe subconsciously, but not to the extent that it actually was. And then you start thinking like, wait, like, am I this way? Like, is my brother this way? Like, what's like the makeup of my sisters and how that's related to my mom and my dad? That would be a smart movie about grieving. And there is a movie, and whenever I told people like this is totally a movie, like when I was in Israel, they told me like, yeah, there's like a famous Israeli movie that's about Shiva, and I'm sure that one got it a lot more accurately than this movie, because it was probably more focused on the grief and not just the ensemble piece of it. And then I was like, so I guess I can't make this into a script, so it's got to be a book. Maybe I'll write a book, like a nonfiction book, and something would come of it. But I can't be a movie because there's this movie and there's an Israel movie. So, but that's the point, is like, I hope that maybe I should check it out, is that the Israeli movie, that it weaved the whole, whatever the drama that plays into this family reuniting, it reflects on their connection to their parents, not just the one passing, but maybe the one that's living, because it brings everything into focus. So that would be a great, exciting movie to watch. But this is not what this is. They knew what they were doing with this movie. They were like, this is like a fun, interesting thing, and it exposes the whole Shiva thing. But really, what we need is a superstar cast to attract as many people as possible to see this, because there's not much in it apart from a bunch of colorful characters. Like, there's no meat to it. Like, there's not much wisdom to it. The dialogue is not that sharp. The jokes are not that funny. But if you have a really good cast, and if you interest enough good actors, it could be some sort of like this event movie where you can have so many like people on the marquee. It's kind of like a Wes Anderson movie where like it's all these like 70 people, like everybody like as it's like a known actor, because everybody wants to be in his movies. Only that this is not a Wes Anderson movie, that's a problem.
I think that there's, to use the same analogy, I think it's got a lot of meat. I just think that the plating is not good. Like, I don't think it's served. It's not served to you correctly, if that's the right analogy. It's like there's a lot there. It doesn't connect the way it's supposed to. It's not presented the way it's supposed to, and it's I find, as an audience member, liking what I see, but having to put the pieces together myself, and that's not the way a movie should be.